Welcome to Kim Talks Books. I'm Kim Hayden, your host. As we step into the quiet spaces between the lines, focusing on the vibrant author's journey, we'll explore the dedication, the inspiration, and the unique perspectives that these authors bring to their craft, offering listeners the profound reader's reward of discovering fresh narratives. So settle in because our literary adventure with tomorrow's acclaimed writers begins now. All right, Sally, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Oh, I'm absolutely fantastic. Kim, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Well, you are one of my favorites. You literally are. As soon as I saw you at the last event, and I said, nope, gotta have you back. And that is literally part of the journey of creating this show is I wanted to do an author specific show. One, because I believe more people need to be speaking up and putting their stories out there. And two, um, I want to my part. I want to do my part, right? Everybody has a part in this world. My job, people go, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, it's really cool actually. I get to hang the capes on everyday heroes." It's like interviewing amazing human beings. And that's really, really what I love. And you are absolutely one of those everyday heroes because I don't think people realize when we're standing in the grocery store that there are heroes all around us. Everybody's doing the best they can. And if you're doing the best that you can,
Mhm.
you're a hero because the
Absolutely.
rest of the world wants to tear you apart. So I want to dive in. Um, the Sun I Knew Too Late. I want, before we dive into the book, as an author, now, if you could give us a little bit of backstory as to your profession and how you came to do this book and what this author's journey looks like for you.
Mhm. Okay, well, that's a big ask, but I think I can make this short, fairly short and succinct. I was just a normal, everyday girl growing up, tomboy in Santa Barbara, and got married at 19 and had two adorable little children, uh, and then became a single parent. And that firstborn of mine was just too smart. I was a C student in high school. I had been. And this little kid was reading at 2. He was giving me 45-minute debates on why he didn't need to make his bed at 5. And he was winning.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is only going to get worse. And so I had to go back to school to try and keep up with him. But then I couldn't get a B because I got one B plus and he just crucified me. And I was like, I have to stay the mom. I have to stay credible for him to be able to trust what I say and help him grow up. And so I never got another B, not because I was so smart, but because I was terrified of another another complete evisceration by him. And, anyway, but in the meantime, so I went and I started my bachelor's and got highest honors and went on for my master's. And this kid in the meantime was at 14, he was in UCSB, at the university taking calculus with 250 regular age STEM students, getting the top grade each of 3 quarters and inventing new proofs. And at 15, he was teaching calculus, and at 16, he was invited into Carnegie Mellon in theoretical math in a by invitation only program where it was accelerated. And in 4 years, he ended up with both his bachelor's and master's before he was 21.
Wow.
And I was the luckiest, happiest, most successful mom in the world. I felt like I had done everything right. Everything was beautiful. Look at this incredible story, this incredible son. And he was magnificent. I was just so, so proud. And a year later, he killed himself. And I obliterated. As a mom, I obliterated. I mean, I didn't have a story anymore. I didn't know who I was anymore. Nothing made sense anymore. I had no idea what had happened. And I had been living in an illusion. And I just was finishing my counseling degree. I was just getting licensed as a psychotherapist. So the first client I had was me, and I had to grieve and I had to find out what did I miss? And I had the tools I'd never had before as a psychotherapist to possibly be able to answer that question. And so I went on a anthropological dig of our lives, and for the last, for many years, I just sought, and I'd find the stories, I'd write them up, and then it would just devastate me for months. And it would take months before I could get back and start again. But I got a lot of stories that I never either understood or even knew that made sense of his suicide. And none of those stories died with him. I was now seeing clients, and I could see these clients were walking in with the same stories. And I was like, I can't be his mom or a psychotherapist unless I tell these stories to other people in a way that would help them survive what we didn't. And that was my job. And that was what powered me through this book. It only took 28 years because it had to be good. I can't tell you how many edits, but I got an angel editor who was just, she was like, even if I was in the hospital and told never I was never going to walk again, she was like, "We're finishing this book," you know. And with her help, I did, and now it's out.
And now it's out. And let's talk about the timing.
Mhm.
So, let's talk a bit about where we currently are in today's world and some of the unsettling trends we're seeing. What is some of the
Mm.
moments within the book that you think will resonate and help others?
What this book is a roadmap up life. It's not about preventing suicide. It's about keeping life worth the living from the inside of the person out. And so at every age, I learned in my licensure, there's a key issue. And if that isn't resolved in a positive way, it helps to undermine growth.
Yeah.
So at every age, there's a new issue because we keep growing more and outward and up. And so we have to keep building these skill sets, and it takes each seed is a way to get through all of that. And Eric Erickson was the person who analyzed human development and came up with these tools. And so I took John's stories from birth on and concatenated them along with Eric Erickson's ages of man and what the issues are. And then you can see so well from the story and from the education that Erickson has exactly what went wrong from the inside. But we've never had the words, we've never had the concepts, and we've never had this ability to actually be able to consciously help our children grow and know what we're doing. And so this is the book. And, it's using story to teach, because story is so powerful, but then match it immediately with the education so everyone who's reading it knows exactly what to do and what not to do at every age to help life stay worth the living. And it does. And I mean, it's no other book is like this. And it's not a negative. It's actually a triumphant story that ends terribly, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it feels like my son's life was basically a a a, what do you call a sacrifice for the greater good.
Well, and it was very compressed. He
It was very
lived a lot in like,
yes.
I would say that in many ways, emotionally and mentally, he probably lived a 40-year time span in just that very short, brief time
He
on Earth.
he did, but honestly, I'd give anything if he were alive because he was more than most people, he could have made such a difference in the world. But I, as his witness and his mom, and now a psychologist, I had to turn his stories into the kind of gift I could give the world using his stories as the lessons. And so that's what I did.
A little off topic,
Hmm.
but would you, when we talk about so it's I'm jumping ahead because I wanna get to the reader's reward, but, I wanna touch on a couple things that we said before we started recording, and it's interesting, you and I were thinking right along the same lines. Hope and help, right? Hopeful, helpful, hopeless, helpless. So what are some of the ways, especially with your training and your understanding, what are some of what is a strategy to move from a less to a full?
From Well, we at every age, there's a toggle. And so in the first stage, for instance, is trust versus mistrust. If the baby comes out of the womb and learns that he can or she can trust his parent, he feels loved, she's being cared for in a timely way, she's being loved and fed and nurtured and cleaned and kept happy and involved in everything like that, that child is going to learn trust. But there's a lot of parents that are too busy or too disorganized or too distracted or toxic, actually. And what the children learn from those people is either avoid people, their parents, because you can't really trust them, or it just is chaotic. It's crazy, it's disorganized, and they can't make sense of anything and they just kind of freeze. And there's insecurity, there's the avoidance, and then there's disorganization. And there's some Dan Siegel wrote a lot about that and made it very clear about these, the kinds of attachment styles that children have, create out of the way their parent treats them.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're in especially in the United States. The United States is in such a space that there's seems to be no, um trust at any level. It doesn't
No,
matter if
no,
it's governments, if it's schools. I mean, we've taken babies away from moms at 6 weeks of age, and we put them into daycare because mom's just trying to survive. I mean, I mean, to me, I just think there's and I love the fact that not love the fact, but I really value the fact that you brought in the fact that this is actually systemic.
Mhm.
This
Yes.
is systemic. It's from birth, but it even is from before that, right?
Oh,
So, um,
it's the parents don't know how to parent. A lot of parents are wounded and they haven't learned the social emotional skills because we in America stopped teaching social emotional skills back in the industrial revolution. That's the social emotional skills are what bond us together and keep communities integral and give people hope and stability and consistency and connection. If they're not there, it all splits apart, and all you end up is with hate, division, animosity, and misery. Just misery.
and life is
And
really too short. Life is really too short for all of this.
I mean, this is antithetic to life. I mean, no chimpanzee would do this.
And at 13.19 seconds, that's the quote. Not even a chimpanzee would do this. And you know what? I really you know, it was interesting. I had a conversation, and this is off topic, but it really does go into that hopeful and helpful and trust and all of these things that could start healing the generation. I had a conversation with somebody over the weekend, and it's fascinating when we look at the hierarchy within North America and where our value systems are. And we really do not value human beings.
Nope.
And yet, this world without human beings, there would be nobody to buy your stuff. There would be nobody to walk your dog. There'd be nobody to educate if we aren't valuing stopping, is that whole, stop what is it? Stop, drop, and roll. Like, can we somehow figure out how to stop this and start looking at, how do we instill trust? How do we instill hope? How do we instill help, right? Help is, I think, really important. Uh, let's talk about what's in it for the reader, and where I'd like to drive this conversation is I'd like to actually bypass the parents. I'd like to uh, bypass the other specialists and everything. I'd like to actually maybe look at how pieces of this book could help teachers who are
Mhm.
in the space, who are seeing these boys suffer, seeing these kids suffer. We have an epidemic happening with our young men. We see that there was, I don't know if you watched that movie Adolescence on Netflix. You probably don't want to watch it. It was very, and it was taken off of, it was a culmination of multiple storylines, multiple actual real things that had happened in England. Um, Fascinating thing about it, that entire movie was shot in a single shot. That's the craziest thing, is that, and it's a powerful, powerful story, but it's really about the story of our young men and how they're literally being destroyed by, um, because, and I understand the pendulum is swinging. We're bringing it around so women are heard, women have a place, and I understand this. However, I just can't grasp the psychology or the mentality of, if I'm gonna have a spot on the stage, you can't. I'm like, "Well, let's just build a bigger stage. Let's just make more pie. For God's sakes, I love pie. I'll make the pie." Um, but what would you share? What could somebody get who gets your book, what are some flags or some things or some ways that they could broach conversation when they see somebody struggling so they are not too late?
Well, first of all, the one of the most the absolute essential thing is you say, "Are you feeling like killing yourself?" If that's something that is concerning you, say it. Say it. You're not gonna make them do it. They're gonna respond, and either they're gonna say you're out of your mind, which is fine and great, or they're gonna say, "Uh-oh." I have a surrogate son who moved into my house as a renter about a few months before my son committed suicide. So he knew John, and he liked him, and John liked him. And afterwards, after the suicide, that boy became a son, and he made sure I was okay. And yet was carrying some unknown things to me that I didn't know he was gay, and he wasn't out yet, and he had some beliefs, some very unfortunate beliefs. And I caught him on the verge of suicide 3 times. And each time I was like, "Are you thinking of killing yourself?" And there would be the deer in the headlights look, told me everything I needed to know. And I was like, "Oh, no, you don't. You are going to stay. You are a rare person in the world, and it's going to take a rare human being to get with you and be happy. And you just got to stay the course. And you will find that needle in the haystack, but you won't find it overnight, but it's going to be worth the wait." And was, I was just absolute, and I had to do that 3 times. And every time, I mean, I caught him right in the verge. And I was like, I mean, and now he found the perfect mate. They are happy as anybody could possibly be, and they're both absolutely stunning people. And it's just, I feel so good. And they made me the ring bearer in their wedding,
Amazing.
but
Amazing. I think though you just touched on something, is that sometimes people don't see their own value.
yes,
And I think I think that just calling it out, calling
well,
it.
knowing it out and also letting them know there's hope. You're on a path. The path is just unfolding. Don't judge it. Don't judge yourself, and just stay at the course, and you will find the way. I had another roommate who was working on his PhD, and he was the brightest guy I've ever met in my life. And he ended up in Einstein's seat in Zurich. and, where he is now, and, he told me once, he said, "You know, I'm not that smart," but he said, "I am unusually determined." And that's what makes you a success. You stay and don't take anything personally. Just go, huh, interesting, and keep going and keep following your path. And whatever your dream is, if you keep going, you will reach it. Thomas Edison said, "There's 10,000 ways I found that don't work," which means he failed 10,000 times before he finally found the way through to electricity. Now, if he can do that, we should be at least as patient with ourselves. And stop
Absolutely.
prejudging and stop sitting there going, "Oh, I can't. I'm hopeless. There's no way." All these negative things. And that's just your limbic system. The first thing your limbic system is going to do is give you the worst case thought because it's the most protective and it's also the least likely to be true. So
Isn't that like part of the caveman brain? That
it's
was what kept us
exactly
alive?
well, because back in the caveman days, every single thing around us was dangerous. And so
Pretty sure your cat's not gonna eat you. You're okay.
yeah, but back then it was saber-toothed tigers and dinosaurs and everything else, and you're like, if you didn't think the worst case thought first, then you'd be dead. But the problem with that part of our brain is whatever helped us survive in the brain at all never changed. It stayed the same. And so we have that same piece to us today. But I haven't seen a single saber-toothed tiger since I was born. And yet
Yeah.
people come up with that worst case thought first thing, and if you buy it, you are setting yourself up for a negative, experience, and you're gonna be, you know, more prone to depression, suicidality, all the negative things, and it's just a thought. And so when you have that thought, bracket it and go, "Okay, thank you, brain, for giving me the worst case. What's the best case?" What do I prefer to have happen? Because whatever you focus on grows. That's the first rule of hypnosis. So when you focus on the good, the best possible, you are increasing the likelihood of that happening. And if you keep going, it will emerge out of the ether. But if you concentrate on the worst case, guess what? You're also increasing the likelihood of the worst case happening, but it's your thought that is choosing it.
So I have a question
Mhm.
about ADHD and suicide ideation.
Mhm.
I just have been made aware that there is actually a correlation
Mhm.
between the 2. Um, do you think that has any impact with what's going on, with all these young people? Because I know we have a lot of men over 50 are actually the highest
Well, right now
now, but
right now, the I was just I heard a speech and they cited a statistic that said at this point, the 10 to 33-year-olds, the most likely cause of their death today is suicide.
yep,
That has never been the case in the history of man.
yep.
I mean, so that's their first choice. Most likely cause of death. 10 to 33. 10. 10
Oh,
years.
I know. It's so, mind-boggling to me. I mean, when my kids were 10, I mean, they were begging for me to stop at McDonald's on the way home from Girl Guides or swim
Right.
lessons,
But
and,
y
you know
yeah, but what we're seeing is that these are our canaries in the coal mine. They are dying to tell us of something toxic going on in our environment. Now, they're helpless, they're innocent, but what's going on is what they are dying to tell us. And if we don't read the tea leaves, if we don't read that and look at what we're doing to create a world that is not worth living in or
Yeah.
is
You
eradicating
know, absolutely,
but
absolutely, I completely
we have it we are the ones that created it, so we're the ones that need to fix it.
absolutely. Sally, best line of the show is absolutely. Even chimpanzees don't wanna do it. That's going, I think, on the YouTube thumbnail for this one because that's just an amazing line. Where I'm gonna have all your information in the show notes, and I will want to probably, have you back again. I'm going to find a way to get you to come to Calgary. I absolutely adore you. I love everything that you're bringing because, I am, the proud grandma of an absolutely adorable, 5.5-year-old and
Oh,
boy, and he's coming into a world that's gonna be just not the most patient space for him, and we need more of your voice. We need people out there listening going, "We need hope. We need help. We need to have trust. We need to
we
have."
do, and we need to be able to reboot what works for life. And there's a lot of different points that I on the spectrum that I have. I know what they are because I've continued to do that work. I continue the research even after the book, and I've learned so many things. And so what I do is teach social emotional skills to high school students by teacher invitation. And I watch a whole sea of bored dead eyes go on fire over 8 weeks, and you can't believe the hands that are raising, and they are so excited, and they find out that they matter, they can make a difference and succeed in 8 weeks, and I have the stories to prove it. And I know that that would have helped save my son.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sally, thank you for putting up the good fight and staying in it and saying, "I'm gonna make something of this." And it really comes down to, no matter what life dishes you, no matter what life dishes you, you have the opportunity of turning it into something that is truly valuable,
Right.
valuable.
Well, anything can happen to us, but it's what we do about it that makes it either good or bad.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
What is that saying? If you say you can
yeah,
and you
or
say
you
you
can't.
can't, you're gonna be right.
You're right.
You're right.
Because it's your thought that's dictating the whole thing. So change your thought.
So change your thought. On that note, thank you, Sally. I'm going to have all of Sally's book notes here if you have any questions or if you want to talk to her about bringing these programs or this information into your schools. If you're a parent and you have a 9-year-old child that right now you're not even sure where your Thanksgiving you're going to do Thanksgiving because you're not talking to your family. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to get ahead of the curve. Don't be proactive, not reactive. So until next time, Sally, as always, you are a ray of sunshine, and I really appreciate your time.
Look at who's talking.
Until next time, my dear. Bye for now.
Ciao, ciao.